Most people think being rare means being different. But in psychology, rare personalities aren't about being weird. They're about how deeply you think, feel, and perceive the world. If you relate to most of these signs, you don't just stand out, you experience life on a completely different level. 1. You think in layers, not lines. While most people see life in a straight path, cause and effect, you see it in layers. You don't just think about what's happening. You think about why it's happening and what it means. Psychologists call this metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. It's rare because it requires emotional distance and brutal honesty. You don't just react, you analyze your reactions, and that level of awareness changes everything. 2. You feel energy. More than words. You can walk into a room and immediately feel tension, even when no one's speaking. You notice tone shifts, silence, and subtle changes in someone's eyes. That's not overthinking. That's empathic accuracy, a psychological skill only a small percentage of people have. It's what makes you emotionally intelligent, but it also makes you mentally exhausted, because you can't turn it off. 3. You value depth over connection. You don't care about having hundreds of friends. You'd rather have one conversation that actually means something. Psychologists call this low social reward sensitivity. Your brain isn't easily excited by surface-level socializing. You crave substance. You want people who talk about purpose, not gossip. And that's rare in a world obsessed with attention, not meaning. 4. You're calm in chaos. When everything around you falls apart, something strange happens. You get calmer. That's a sign of high emotional regulation. Your nervous system knows how to stay grounded under pressure. While others panic, you process. You don't suppress your emotions. You control your response to them. It's not that you don't feel pain. It's that you've learned how to face it with clarity, not confusion. 5. You're uncomfortable in shallow environments. You struggle in places where people fake smiles and follow trends, not because you're antisocial, but because your brain rejects inauthenticity. You crave emotional honesty, even if it's uncomfortable. Psychology calls this high authenticity orientation. People like this can't pretend for long, and they often end up feeling like outsiders because of it. 6. You learn through observation, not instruction. You notice patterns others ignore. How people behave, how situations repeat, how energy shifts. You rarely need to be told what's right or wrong. You notice it. This comes from observational intelligence, often found in highly intuitive thinkers. You learn faster because you absorb context, not just information. And that's why traditional systems, school, work, society, often feel limiting to you. 7. You carry silent depth. People might underestimate you at first because you don't overshare. You observe before you speak, and when you finally do, it's precise. That's reflective personality structure. You process your inner world privately before showing it externally. It's the mark of someone who's secure in their identity, not seeking validation. And that kind of inner strength makes people quietly curious about you. 8. You can be alone without feeling lonely. Most people fear solitude because it forces them to face themselves. You, on the other hand, recharge in silence. Your solitude isn't emptiness. It's a sanctuary. Psychologically, that's high self-integration, when your sense of self isn't dependent on constant external validation. You find peace in your own presence, which is one of the rarest psychological traits in the world. Having a rare personality isn't about being special. It's about being real in a world that teaches you to perform. You probably don't fit in easily, and that's exactly what makes your mind powerful. You're not hard to understand. You're just not meant to be understood by everyone. If this felt a little too accurate, that's not coincidence. That's awareness. And awareness is the first step to power.